Hello, thanks for joining me for Daf 25 on the B of Teruma using the Steinsaltz edition. Let's dive straight in. So it says, with regard to a master who emancipates half of a slave, so what does the footnote say? Chazi Abdel. If a master emancipates only half of his slave by giving him a bill of manumission, the slave is not emancipated. This halacha is according to the opinion of the sages in a Braita in Gittin 41b, Volume Sefer Kinnan, Hilchot Volume 7:4. Half of the slave is emancipated, and he is half a slave, half free man. Although a slave does not have the ability to acquire items, in this case he does acquire his freedom because his bill of manumission and his ability to acquire himself come at the same time. But if you say that if one reserved the consecration is considered reserved, and a fetus is not considered the thigh of his mother, but the mother and the fetus are separate entities, why does the mother acquire freedom for the fetus in the case of the master freed the fetus, but not the mother? The Gemara continues, and isn't it taught in a Braita, it appears to be the case that a slave can acquire a bill of manumission from another slave from the hand of its fellow master. So what's the footnote? A slave can receive bill of manumission for his fellow slave from the hand of his fellow's master, but not from the hand of his own master, if both of them are enslaved to the same person. This halacha is according to the Braita. From the Sefer Kinnan, Hilchot Volume 6:8. One who is not also his own master, but not from the hand of his own master, i.e., if both of them are enslaved to the same person. Here too, how can the mother receive a bill of manumission for the fetus from the hand of their shared master? Rather conclude from it that if he reserved the consecration, it is not considered reserved, and the refutation of the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan is indeed a conclusive refutation. So what does that mean? The standard meaning of this phrase in the Gemara is that the opinion of the Amora has been conclusively refuted. Tosfot explained that since the Gemara continues to explain that the ruling that if he reserved it, it is reserved, is a dispute between the Tanaim, Rabbi Yochanan's opinion is not necessarily refuted in this instance, as he can claim that he holds in accordance with the opinion of the Tana, who says that if he reserved it, it is reserved. The Gemara suggests, shall we say that the claim that if one reserved the consecration, it is reserved, is subject to dispute between the Tanaim, as is taught in a Braita, with regard to one who says to his pregnant Canaanite maidservant, you are hereby a free woman, but your offspring shall remain a slave. If one might to his pregnant Canaanite maidservant, you are hereby a free woman, but your offspring shall remain a slave, his statement is effective. That's the Ram Sefer Kinyan, Hilchot Volume 7:5. See the Rav and Kesef Mishnah there. Offspring is emancipated like her. This is the statement of Rabbi Yoshua Glili, and the rabbis say his statement is upheld. This is because it is stated that the woman and her children shall be her masters, Exodus 21:4. The Gemara expresses surprise at this ruling. What is the derivation of the verse here that indicates support for the opinion of the rabbis, who rule in this case that the child of a free maidservant remains a slave? Rabbi said the verse does not support the opinion of the rabbis. Rather, the verse that the Braita states is cited as support for the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua Glili, as it teaches. The Braita should be understood as follows. The offspring is emancipated like her, as it is stated, the woman and her children shall be her masters, which indicates that when the woman belongs to the master, her offspring likewise belongs to the master. But if the woman is free, the offspring is also freed. What is it not correct to say that the sages disagree over this point? That Rabbi Yoshua Glili hold that if he reserved it, it is not considered reserved, and therefore the mother and the fetus are treated as one entity, and the rabbis maintain that it is considered reserved. If so, this would mean that Rabbi Yochanan's opinion is the subject of a dispute between the Tanaim. The Gemara rejects this suggestion. Rabbi Yochanan could have said to you, and everyone holds that if he reserved it, it is considered reserved. And here, this is the reason that Rabbi Yoshua Glili rules that the offspring is freed with the mother. And Rabbi Yoshua Glili himself explains, it is that the verse states, the woman and her children shall be her masters. The verse teaches that the status of the offspring follows the status of the mother with regard to slavery, not because the fetus is considered part of its mother. Rather, certainly we shall say, and the opinion that if he reserved it, it is reserved, is subject to a dispute between his Tanaim, as it is told that there are two Braitas that discuss the case of one who slaughters a sin offering, which is assumed to have been consecrated when it was pregnant, and he found a 4-month-old fetus alive inside. Ben Abba Achai, an animal removed from its mother's womb after the mother was slaughtered, referred to as a Ben Pekua. The halacha is that the slaughter of the mother takes effect on the fetus and renders it kosher, even if the fetus is developed enough to be able to function independently and walk on its own. With regard to small domesticated animals, a 4-month-old fetus has not yet finished its development but is able to survive temporarily outside the womb. If one slaughters a sin offering and finds a 4-month fetus alive inside, the fetus is eaten as a sin offering. The reason is that the offspring of consecrated animals become consecrated in the womb of the mother, as stated in the Braita, Rambam Sefer Kabbalah, Teruma 4:3. It is told in one Braita, the slaughter of the mother is also considered a slaughter with regard to the fetus, and therefore the fetus is considered a sin offering. This means its meat is eaten only by males of the priesthood, and it is eaten only for 1 day, and it is eaten only inside the curtains. What does that mean? Lifting min hakalayim, the commandment to build a tabernacle, including the requirement to create a rectangular courtyard around it with the dimensions 100 cubits by 50 cubits, Exodus 27:9-19. The courtyard was enclosed by means of curtains, which Rashi described as similar to a ship's sail. These curtains no longer existed in the permanent temple courtyard, but in the context of the requirement to eat an offering within the confines of the temple courtyard, this area is still referred to as inside the curtains. And there's a picture assembling the curtains in the tabernacle courtyard. In the tabernacle in the wilderness, this area is surrounded by curtains. The corresponding area in the temple is the courtyard. And it is told in another Braita, the slaughter of the mother is considered a slaughter for the fetus to the extent that it permits it to be eaten. But the fetus is non-sacred, and therefore it may be eaten by any person, and may be eaten in any place, and it may be eaten forever with no time limit. What is it not correct to say that these Tanaim disagree over this point? Well, the first Tana holds, if he reserved it, it is not considered reserved. And therefore the mother and fetus are considered one entity, and the sage of the mother applies to the fetus, and the sage in the second Braita hold, if you reserved it is considered reserved, it means that the fetus is considered an independent entity and is non-sacred. And so Rabbi Yochanan's opinion is a subject of dispute between the Tanaim. The Gemara rejects this suggestion. Rabbi Yochanan could say to you that everyone holds that if he reserved it is considered reserved, and therefore a person can consecrate an animal while reserving the fetus as non-sacred. And the Tanaim disagree over this following point. In a case of an animal that was consecrated as a sin offering, and only then became pregnant, one sage holds the offspring of sacrificial animals become consecrated when they are born and come into being, and as that fetus which was found alive inside the mother was never born, it never became consecrated. And one sage holds the offspring of a sacrificial animals become consecrated in the womb of their mother, which means that the fetus that was found alive inside the mother was already consecrated. If you wish, Saint said an alternative explanation of the dispute between these two Braitot. It is not difficult for Rabbi Yochanan. Everyone holds that if you reserved it is considered reserved, and everyone also maintains that offspring of sacrificial animals become consecrated when they are born. Rather, these two Braitot are discussing two different cases. Here, the second Braitot is referring to a case where the owner consecrated the animal before it became pregnant, and only afterward it became pregnant. Consequently, the offspring is non-sacred, as it was not in the womb when the mother was consecrated, and as it was never born, it was not consecrated at the moment of birth either. By contrast, the first Braita is referring to a case where the animal first became pregnant and afterward the owner consecrated it. Since the owner did not reserve the fetus from the consecration of the mother, the fetus was consecrated as sin offering together with the mother. Rabbi objects to this claim, for where is it known that the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan is that he reserved it? It is considered reserved. Perhaps Rabbi Yochanan maintains that if he reserved it, it is not considered reserved, and this is the reason for the ruling of Rabbi Yochanan. It is that he can achieve atonement with the offspring of a permanent animal he set aside as a sin offering, and he maintains that a person can achieve atonement with the enhancement of consecrated property, and the fetus is considered an enhancement of consecrated property. Rav Hamnuna said to Rabbi Elazar, who's Rabbi Elazar? This is Rabbi Elazar ben Padat, one of the great Amoraim of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Elazar was originally from Babylon, where he studied under the tutelage of Rabbi Shmuel before emigrating as a young man to Eretz Yisrael and marrying there. In Eretz Yisrael, he became a preeminent student of Rabbi Yochanan, and often referred to by the sages of future generations, as in the Gemara here, simply as Rabbi Elazar, a disciple of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar were so close that sometimes the opinion of one of them is asked as a challenge to the sage opinion of the other, under the assumption that they always shared the same opinion with regard to halacha. After a difficult start to the relationship, Rabbi Yochanan had a grievance against Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar grew to admire Rabbi Yochanan greatly. Rabbi Yochanan was so impressed with Rabbi Elazar that he once said, I saw that Rabbi Elazar ben Papa was sitting and explaining the Torah as Moses received it directly from the mouth of the Almighty. Rabbi Elazar was poor for most of his life, and his financial situation improved only later in life when he kept company with national leaders. After the death of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Elazar became one of the rabbinic leaders in Eretz Yisrael. He was knowledgeable in the secret of calendric calculations, and he often sent halachic and ethical instructions from Eretz Yisrael to Babylon that were considered authoritative and binding. Many stories that relate to Rabbi Elazar's love of Torah. They depict the man who spent his entire life fully engrossed in the study of Torah, unconcerned with the external world. Was a pupil of Rabbi Yochanan, and he sat before Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Elazar assumed that the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan was that he held that if he reserved it, it is considered reserved, and he questioned Rabbi Yochanan instead about his statement based on that assumption. Rabbi Yochanan did not answer him with his answer, i.e., that the real reason for his opinion is that a person can achieve attainment with enhancement of cultivated property. And if so, how can you say that the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan is that a person can achieve attainment with enhancement of cultivated property? Therefore, it must be that the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan is that he held that if he reserved it, it is considered reserved. The mission teaches, and if it was only after he said, this animal is hereby a peace offering, that he reconsidered and said, its offspring is a burnt offering, that offspring is a peace offering, and as before he reconsidered the offspring of the audience, assumed the status of the offspring of a peace offering. The Gemara asks, if he reconsidered it after saying this animal is a peace offering, it is obvious that he cannot remove the status he already applied to the animal, and that the offspring remains a peace offering. Can one change his mind anytime that he wants? But Papa said the halacha is necessary only in a case where he reconsidered it and said his offering is a burnt offering, within the time required for speaking a short phrase. What does that mean? The Gemara in Tractate Baba Kama 73b explains that there are two time frames that are so called within the time required to speak a short phrase. One is the time required for a student to greet a rabbi, and the other is the time required for a rabbi to greet a student, which is a shorter period of time. The Gemara there states that Rabbi Yossi maintains that whereas a statement following a longer pause is not considered continuous speech, the statement following the shorter pause is considered continuous speech. And as he said, halacha is stated of the pause that lasts less than the time required for speaking a short phrase like that of continuous speech, and therefore the offering is a burnt offering, and at that time he was merely prolonging his thought, but not changing his mind. Consequently, the Mishnah teaches us, Hamash Malan, it teaches us, based on the Gemara explanation of the speaker's pause, the Bein Gershon maintains that the Gemara here disagrees with the Gemara in Tractate Baba Kama. According to the Gemara here, one is not able to reconsider with regard to consecration, even when reconsidered within the time required for speaking a short phrase. By contrast, the Gemara in Baba Kama maintains that although one cannot reconsider in the time required for a student to greet a rabbi, one may reconsider in the time required for a rabbi to greet a student. Nevertheless, Tosfos contend that the discussion of the Gemara here is consistent with the Gemara in Baba Kama, and both maintain that one cannot reconsider within the time required for a student to greet a rabbi, or may reconsider the time required for a rabbi to greet a student. And he changed his mind and it is not considered continuous speech. If one had two animals standing before him, one a burnt offering and the other a peace offering, and he said with regard to a third non-sacred animal, this animal is hereby the substitute of the burnt offering, the substitute of the peace offering. The text of the Gemara that the Rambam had included the word and as follows: the substitute of a burnt offering and the substitute of a peace offering. If so, this means that Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi disagree even in that case. By contrast, the text that Rashi did not include the word and. According to Rashi, if one said the substitute of a burnt offering and the substitute of a peace offering, Rabbi Meir conceded that both sanctities take effect. In the case of a person who said with regard to his non-sacred animal, this animal is hereby the substitute of the burnt offering and the substitute of the peace offering. The halacha is as follows: if it was his intent from the outset when he stated that the animal is the substitute of the burnt offering, instead that the animal is also a substitute of the peace offering, the statement is effective. And the animal is half a burnt offering and half a peace offering. You must sell the animal, use half the money to buy burnt offering, half the money to buy peace offering. But if it was only after he said the animal is thereby the substitute of the burnt offering, and he reconsidered and said the substitute of a peace offering, that entire animal is the substitute of a burnt offering, even if we consider within a time period, the time required for speaking a short phrase, This halacha is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yoshi, Rambam Sefer Korbanot Teruma 2:4. That animal is a substitute of the burnt offering. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. Once he designated it as a substitute of the burnt offering, this statement takes effect on the animal assumes the sanctity of the burnt offering. Rabbi Yoshi says, if that was his intent from the outset, when he said that the animal is a substitute of the burnt offering, to state that the animal is also a substitute of the peace offering, then since it's impossible to call two designations simultaneously, like one must first say that one designation and the other, his statement stands, and the animal is half a burnt offering, half a peace offering. And if it was only after he said this animal is hereby a substitute of the burnt offering, that he be considered and said this substitute of a peace offering, that entire animal is a substitute of a burnt offering. That's the end of the Omid. Wish you a very good day and take care. Bye.